So today we'll be talking about drop shadows and ambient shadows, how to create drop shadows in Photoshop. Of course, I'm not talking about the special effect named drop shadow in Photoshop, but we'll be building here a drop shadow from the start to the end. So let's check for an object or an item. We'll look for something like giraffe, like that. Good. I will write in quotes public domain. Okay, let's go check the pictures about giraffes. So in the browser, let's ask for the tools and let's ask for pictures above 4 megs. Okay, I think that the first picture here is fine. So let's control click on it. Do you see that picture? So in a new tab that just opened, let's ask for display the picture. And that's it. And when you zoom in the browser, you might check if the quality of the picture is okay. So it looks quite fine. So let's save it onto the desktop. I will create a new folder named drop shadows. So we open the picture of the giraffe in Photoshop. Use the F key, so you'll be able with the spacebar to move the picture as you wish on the screen. And we'll be making now a selection. So you will have a layer mask on the layer. The sole layer in that file, you will add a layer mask like that. You must save the file onto the hard drive on the desktop. And now there's a feature in that file, a layer mask, and only the Photoshop format is able to save that Photoshop feature. So don't save in JPEG, save in Photoshop format, PSD format, and I will add a little number at the end of the file. So you have that little dialog box asking for maximize compatibility. Do you wish to maximize compatibility? You may leave that option checked. That way, the file will be easily opened in previous versions of Photoshop. And if it's bothering you, you may ask to don't show again that dialog box when you save a file in Photoshop format. So it will be always saved with maximize compatibility option. If you do not run out of space on your hard drive, do save Photoshop files with that option, maximize compatibility. That way, the Photoshop files will be easily opened in other softwares and previous versions of Photoshop. The file size is a little bit higher, it's a little bit bigger onto the hard drive, but it's really interesting to maximize compatibility. Okay, on that layer, you have the layer mask activated. You have the little frame telling you that you're working on the layer mask. Then you will go and grab the brush tool and you will paint in black that animal. So first, when you have the brush tool, first check if the options are okay. You will be drawing in normal mode with 100% opacity. Then reset the swatches here and invert here in order to have black in the foreground. You will be painting in black. Then increase or decrease the size of the brush with those two keys, Control and Alt, and the right button of the mouse on the PC. If you're working on a Mac, it's the left button of the mouse. So with the Control and Alt keys, you use the right button of the Windows mouse or left button of the Mac mouse, and you are able to decrease the size and choose the softness of the brush too. Okay, let's draw on that animal here. Yes. So where I put black in the layer mask, the animal just disappears. So you have the checkered pattern telling you that it's transparent there. So let's make it easy for us. Let's deactivate the layer mask with the Shift key. You click on the layer mask. So you have that red cross telling you that the layer mask is deactivated with the Shift key. And in the channel panel, window channels, you will ask for displaying the layer mask above everything like that. We've done that with the polar bear, so it's not new to you. We've already been through that technique when we were studying InDesign. So now it's easier to draw on the giraffe like that. Make it quick. Use soft brush for the ears of the giraffe like that. You see that's a soft brush. Okay, so you see on my computer the black parts of the layer mask, they are transparent green. If you wish to change the color, maybe on your computer it's red. If you wish to change the color, the way the black pixels of the layer mask are displayed onto the picture, you just double click on the mask in the channels panel and choose a new color for the layer mask. But green was okay. I will go back to green. Since there's not a lot of green in that picture, you always have to choose a layer mask color which is not in the picture. Okay, just draw the inner part of the giraffe like that. You don't have to fill the giraffe with black. Just a long stroke like that. If you make a mistake like I just did, you just use the X key on the keyboard. That way you switch the colors in the toolbar and you draw in white in the mask. So you remove transparent green. Then when you want to continue, you use the X key once again. And now you draw in black. Okay, do you know how to make straight lines in Photoshop. I'll just show you. You just click, then you go at the end of the line and you shift click, and it's a straight line. So like that, click, shift click. So make it quick. If it's not perfect, it's not a problem. You're just learning how to do it now, so no problem if it's not perfect. Okay, good. When you have something like that, you just save the file. Okay, so you're right. On the Windows PC, with only the Alt key, you are able to increase or decrease the size of the brush like that. But on the Mac, you have to use the Control and Alt keys. Otherwise, it will not work. But okay, so in order to increase or decrease the size of the brush and softness, on the PC, only the Alt key is necessary. So we will fill the giraffe with black in the mask. So let's display the mask by using the Alt key and clicking on the mask here. Alt, 1 or 2 times Alt on the layer mask. And it's displayed full size in the picture. So you have a closed shape. Everyone has a closed shape. You should. Then we will use the magic wand. Go and grab the magic wand here. You shouldn't use the magic wand when you're working on photos in Photoshop, but sometimes it is useful. And you just click on the giraffe and the inner part is selected, like that. We will fill the selection with black, but first we have to expand the selection, like that. So you go in the select menu and ask for modify, and you will expand the selection. So it means you will make it a little bit bigger. So select, modify, expand. Let's try 10 pixels, but I think it would not work. I think the max is 5. No, it works. Okay, fine. So the selection is a little bit larger by 10 pixels. Let's check. Okay, nice. Is it working for you? Good. So the selection must not cross the black line, of course. The selection must stay in the silhouette of the giraffe. And then we will ask for edit fill or shortcut shift delete. And we will fill with black, 100% normal. Okay, and that's it. Okay, we will deselect. So the marching ants selection will be not there anymore. We will be able to work on all of the layer mask. Oh, by the way, if you zoom on the selection, you will see the little ants sometimes. No, it's just a joke. You will never see the little ants unless you use some medicine. So select, deselect, and then we'll finish with the brush tool like that. You have to deselect, otherwise you will not be able to draw on that part of the mask. Sometimes I'm a little bit lazy and I use the Shift key in order to draw lines with the brush tool. Okay, good. Let's save the file. Okay, let's check if the mask is working fine. So you will display now the picture. With the Alt key, you click on the mask. And the mask is working. What is black in the mask is masking the pixels. You have to invert the mask with the Control I or image adjustment and invert. Be sure to work on the mask and not on the colored pixels. So the frame here on the layer is on the mask, the little frame. You're working on the mask and you Control I or image adjustment, invert, it's the same. Nice. So you end up with a giraffe without the landscape. The giraffe is surrounded by a transparency grid. So the transparency grid may be a little bit annoying. And sure it is if you're working on a high definition screen. High definition monitor, it's really annoying, that little vibrating grid. So let's modify that in Photoshop, and we will modify that for that picture, and the other pictures will use that grid display too. So you're on a Windows PC, you're going to Edit menu, Preferences. I'm on a Mac, I go into Photoshop menu, Preferences, and we're looking for Transparency and Gamut. So on a Windows PC, Edit, Preferences, Transparency and Gamut. And here, you will ask for a large grid size, like that. You will ask for a medium grid colors. And you will choose one of the two colors here and modify the color. So like that, I click on the color, and in the color picker here, you have the H selected here for the U. It means that the slider here contains the U. And then you move the little selector here up or down. Don't choose color, it's not good, only grays. And by making the color a little bit different from the other one, a little bit different, you have a nice looking transparency grid, and it will be useful for every picture you will be working on in Photoshop. Every time you will see the transparency on a picture in Photoshop, it will be displayed now with that soft gray grid. Okay, we will add some pixels around the giraffe, some space around the giraffe. It will not be pixels, by the way, it will be transparency. We will add more transparency around the giraffe. We will use the crop tool. So with the crop tool, you will be able to add some space around the giraffe. So with the crop tool, you just use the handles here and move them like that. So we need a lot of space underneath the giraffe, because we will be drawing a drop shadow with the light coming from behind the giraffe. We are facing the sun, and the light will come from behind, and the drop shadow will be in the lower part of the picture here. So make it big like that. You have to zoom out in order to enlarge the canvas size like that. And you validate with the little V here. Nice. So we'll be creating a realistic drop shadow in Photoshop. You also may find it under the name cast shadow. So they are long shadows, very suitable when you have a light source, a really bright light source in your pictures, in your Photoshop pictures. And as you may see here, the more the shadow is apart, is far from the source, from the object, the more it is blurry. So we will recreate that blurriness. We will recreate that blurriness. Okay, let's go back in Photoshop, and so we're working in the layers panel, and we will be creating now a new layer. So you just click on that icon, and you may use the Control key on the PC or Command key on the Mac, and then the layer creates itself underneath the one that was selected. So you use that icon, or if you don't use the Control key on the PC or Command key on the Mac, the new layer comes above the selected layer, and you have to move it underneath like that. Anyway, you create the layer, it must be now underneath the first one, and it is activated, and you will fill it with blank pixels. So let's use a shortcut, Shift Delete, and ask for fill with white, normal, 100%, like that. Okay, so we have a giraffe in a white landscape, an infinite white landscape. You see that kind of picture a lot in advertisings, infinite white landscapes. So save the file under a different name, like that. And activate the giraffe layer. And we will use a little puppet wrap effect in order to move the legs and the neck of the giraffe, because I'm sure we are able to make a little bit better than that, the position of the legs. So first, before using the puppet wrap effect in the edit menu, before using it, be sure to convert the layer into a smart object just by right-clicking here on the right of the name of the layer. You right-click and ask for Convert to Smart Object. Then everything goes into that smart object. So the pixels of the giraffe and our layer mask, they are inside that smart object. What's the purpose of converting our layer into a smart object? The purpose is to be able to put any filter or effect on the layer, and the effect will be editable. You will be able to modify the settings of the effect afterwards. It will appear in the layers panel. So let's put a puppet wrap effect. Edit menu, puppet wrap. That's it. If you don't see that little mesh on the giraffe, just check if this is checked. Anyway, we don't really need that that mesh on the giraffe. But anyway, let's keep it simple. Great. Normally, when you have objects with softness like that, you have to expand the mesh in order to make the puppet wrap working well. So let's try to expand the mesh here. So that's when you have objects with soft edges, like this giraffe. Let's try to expand to 4 pixels, like that, or 5. Okay. At some point, the two front legs of the giraffe will merge. If you increase too much the expansion here, let's try 8 instead of 5. Yes, so now the two front legs merged, and I'm not able to move one leg different from the other, but that's not really a problem here. But anyway, let's try 5. So the two front legs are still a little bit independent. I may move one without moving the other. There's a lot of things to tell about puppet wrap, and maybe we'll talk about it another day. Puppet wrap with multiple layers. It's really interesting. But let's just try to put some coins, some, how do we call them? Yes, some pins on the giraffe, like that. You just click. But there are too many pins right now, so I will remove them. With the Alt key, you click on a pin and it goes away. With the Alt key, you click on a pin, it goes away. Okay, so you have to think about it. Where do you put the pins and how many of them? The fewer, the better. If you put too many pins, it will be not easy to modify the silhouette of the giraffe. So I will put a pin here on the head, like that. Another one here on the neck, the lower part of the neck. Maybe I think it's better if I remove that mesh from the giraffe. So uncheck that show mesh option. Yes, it's easier to see where the pins are. Okay, so I will put another pin here, another one here, on the joints, like that, here, here, here. Okay, good. I think it will be nice, like that. And by moving the pins, you will be able to modify the silhouette of the giraffe. So it means when you find a picture on the web, you are able to modify that picture, not only the color or texture of the picture, but only the way the legs and arms and everything, the way they are. Good. Are you able to move the head of the giraffe like that? Great. Wouldn't it be nice if I'm able to rotate the head? So let's just try with the Alt key. Do not click on the pin, otherwise you will delete it, but just with the Alt key, go just beside the pin and you are able to rotate. So I think my giraffe looks a little bit prouder now. Okay, let's try to validate with the little V. You validate and Since you've just put the puppet wrap effect on the smart object in the layers panel, you see the puppet wrap effect in the layers panel. You are able to remove the eyeball in front of the puppet wrap effect, and you will see the neck of the giraffe as you found it on the internet. Okay, let's save the file. Okay, when you double click on the name of the effect, the little pins show up and you are able to move them once again as you wish. So I will make my giraffe a little bit thinner, like that. Why not? Add a little pin. I'm just trying. Yeah, great. Move the legs. Rotate the legs with the Alt key. The purpose is to make the giraffe looks better. Yeah, nice. So I validate, and anytime I wish to modify the silhouette of the giraffe, I will be able to do it. So let's compare with and without puppet wrap. Yo. So it was a really poor giraffe in the zoo, and now you have a giraffe in the savannah. Really fit. She's happy. Okay, save the file, and now you have to stick with your giraffe. You do not modify the silhouette anymore, because we'll be creating now the drop shadow, the cast shadow for the giraffe. So we will generate a selection based on transparency. So you use the Control key on the Windows PC keyboard or the Command key on the Mac keyboard, and you click on the layer here, and you just created a selection based on transparency. So the little marching ants are not able to show you the softness, but there's really a softness in that selection. You are able to display the selection in pixels by using that icon. Same as for the layer mask. If you double click on that icon, you are able to modify the color, the way the selection is shown on the picture. Yeah, so it really is a selection with softness, but when you are in marching ants mode with the little dots, the moving dots, you're not able to check if the selection is okay. You do not see the softness of the selection, but it already has some softness. So let's create a new layer just above the filled in white layer. You will be creating a new layer. You are working on that layer, and you have the selection visible on your picture, and you will ask for fill with black. So the shortcut Shift Delete, content black, normal 100%, and do not check this, of course, otherwise you will not be able to fill any pixel on that transparent layer if you preserve transparency. So don't check that, It is not checked, but some students they do check that option without knowing what it's all about. Do not check preserve transparency, just fill with black like that, and you have the silhouette of the giraffe on the layer just underneath the original picture of the giraffe, like that. Okay, you should now deselect, unselect by the select menu, deselect. And we will transform the black silhouette here. You're working on that layer, you're working on that layer, we will transform the black silhouette. Be sure to have no selection, so deselect is grayed in the select menu. You do not have any selection on the picture. Zoom out and ask for edit, free transform, or Control T. So edit, free transform, Control T on the Windows PC or Command T on the Mac. And then with the Control key on the PC or Command key on the Mac, you go and grab that handle and that one, both handles, okay? And you put them underneath like that. Like that. Great. And this is a cast shadow. So, you may also modify that handle. And I have a little problem here. The smart guides, you see the pink smart guides, that do not allow me to put the things exactly where I want them to be. So I will ask for view, show smart guides, and I will uncheck the smart guides. Then when I move now, it is better. I do not have those pink lines, the smart guides. Also, there's view snap. You may uncheck view snap. Okay, both things, you have to do both things. View show, you have to uncheck smart guides, and view snap, you have to uncheck snap. And then when you move the handles with the control key of the PC or the command key of the Mac, while you are in free transform mode, you are able to put the shadow where it should be. Okay, so I will make things like that. Just validate with the little V. Okay, some of you have just had one problem. You forgot at one point, you forgot to display the selections in marching ants, and you always were in quick mask mode, but that was a problem. So if you are stuck at any point with that exercise, check if you have the quick mask activated or not. It must not be activated. So now you will convert that layer into a smart object. So you just right click here and ask for convert to smart object. It means if you want to modify the shadow, it's too late. The shadow must be well placed, because now it is in the smart object. What we'll do now is put on that smart object a blur filter. You go into the filter menu, blur, and you will ask for a Gaussian blur. And let's increase the blur like that. I will put 13 pixels. Click OK in that dialog box, and the blur is showing in the layers panel. Since you just put the filter on a smart object, you are able to cancel the blur like that, or modify the blur by double-clicking on its name, and the layer box comes and you are able to modify. But I will leave 13, something like 13 or 12, it's okay. Okay, it's working for you, no problem? Great. And you will use that little mask here. You just click on the mask and put it into a frame like that. And in that mask you will draw a gradient. So you have the mask with little frame on it. And you ask for the gradient tool. And here you should be working with a black and white gradient like that. And you will apply it with that way of applying gradients, the linear gradient. It should be in normal mode, 100% opacity. And you just draw on the shadow like that, and the gradient comes into the filter mask. And you don't have to cancel. You do not have to cancel a gradient before making a new one, you just draw. And you should be able to see that the gradient is now on the head of the giraffe. No, I mean the blur is on the head of the giraffe, and you have no gradient, no blur on the feet of the giraffe. That's the point. The closer the shadow to the object, the sharper it is. Okay, and one last thing in order to create a realistic drop shadow. One last thing, you will add here on the layer, you click on the layer containing the black pixels, and you will add a layer mask like that. And in that layer mask you will add a gradient. This time the gradient will modify the transparency of the black pixels. So with the same tool like that, you have to zoom out in order to create a realistic shadow like that. Great. I had to try 5 times in order to find the nice gradient. So don't hesitate to try a lot of gradients. And as you may see, the shadow of the giraffe is quite convincing. The closer the shadow to the giraffe, the darker it is, and the sharper it is. So that's quite the way it should be. So there's always a little bit of retouching needed, but you've seen the technique of creating nice drop shadows. I will quickly grab a new picture here. You don't have to do it. And in Photoshop, just above the blank layer, I will test with a new picture. File, place, embedded. Like that. Of course, the picture is low definition compared to my giraffe. I will increase the size like that. And you see that even on a real landscape, the result is convincing. Of course, the giraffe is too dark and the landscape is too dull, but there's little chromatic corrections needed here, but I think it's quite nice.